What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode. I know it's been a minute. Today we're going to be wiring this car right here for a FuelTech FT450, and this would pretty much apply to all B series and K series. Not sure if single cams use T1 triggers or not, but we'll go into that. But hope you guys enjoy the video. It's going to be a bunch of technical information in here. I kind of did the same video, but it was short-handed on the K series stuff, so I'm going to pretty much go in depth with this car on what you guys need to do in order to wire any B series or H22 or any 8 series on a FT450 or 550 if you're using the universal 4-cylinder harness. All right, if you've been watching the channel for a couple years now, you guys should remember this car. This is Daryl's car. It was a different motor in it before. It had the same turbo kit, but it was just different configuration. And he's gone through like a couple of issues with it. So the reason why we're converting it to a FuelTech is because for some reason the Honda or the chassis harness or the engine harness isn't communicating with the factory style ECU that we're using in here. So we're going to put it on a FuelTech to gain more data. It's a sleeve short block, piston to rods, built head. Not sure if that, the head is ported. It's a BZE head. It's a S366, I believe, or 69 or 63. Some Bogwiener turbo. Brandon Wright down here in South Carolina redid his charge piping and stuff, and his up pipe and his dump tube. 99 2000 EK. We're putting on FT450, like I said before. It's H to B car. It's got a brought kit on it, I believe. No, it's got a QSD plate with the comp H2B twin disc, and we call the car Iron Man. It's kind of got that whole, black, red and gold Iron Man theme to it. It's a pretty decent car. We're gonna set it up. What y'all need to do to wire the car, how you're gonna want to set it up. Gotta figure out some way to mount the dash in the car because we're gonna pull his cluster out. I know on Patrick's car we did a what's it called? Dang, it's that plastic shit. 3D printed cluster in here, but I'm probably gonna do something different with this one before. Maybe make a custom back plated thing so it can mount in there, so his nano, the display can fit in there. And then where the goal is to try to get the car started between today and tomorrow. Have to convert the. I'll go through everything. I was gonna pretty much say what I was gonna have to convert to, but I'm gonna go over here, grab this box from the other side, and then start going through it, and then show y'all what you get when you order all the stuff. Well, what you need to get when you want to convert one of these cars. All right, so what all do you need in order to do the changeover? All right, so you need an FT450 or 550, or you can use a 600 if you're really baller. You want to get the Y-band nano, which is this right here. I'll still taped up. You have to get, you can just get, I don't know why he got 2 gears, but you really can just get one exhaust, the exhaust cam gear, which has these magnets on it for the timing. You want to get which you can get all this from KS Tune. You want to get the cam crank trigger bracket, and you want to get a T1 cam trigger. You're also going to get a universal 4-cylinder harness. You're going to get the actual Y-band sensor, and you can get all this right here from FuelTech, and you can get all this right here from KS Tune. If you find it used, just want to make sure it's either in the plastic still new and it's not cut up. Everything's in functional order. So what we're going to go over next is what we need to do in order to convert this harness. Well, actually, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to install the exhaust cam gear because he already has an intake KS Tune cam gear. So we're just going to put the exhaust cam gear on there, the bracket, and we're going to do the T1 trigger. And I'm going to show you how to set the gap on the T1 trigger so that you can have correct spacing on it. All right, so I got the gear on. It was not fun. My suggestion to you all is, if you're going to plan on putting this on any sort of standalone, to do the cam gear thing on the outside of the car. It's not fun. If y'all really don't know, well, if you got an H-Swing 2 and you plan on doing the cam gear shit, do it outside the car, because an H is like so close to the subframe, not to the frame rail, that it's almost impossible to get the timing cover off. I had to pretty much pry it out, pry it back in, but we got it done. Cam gear is done. It's back degree to wherever they had the degree spec for this cam, because the motor was already degreed, and it is tensioned and tight. The cam gear bolt is Loctited and tight and torqued. So now we're going to go over here and we're going to grab the KS cam crank trigger bracket. It comes with 2 bolts for where the power steering pump, well, bolts into the power steering pump bracket location. So if you got power steering, you want to do this, you're going to have to delete it. But I use a 12 millimeter. So we're just going to go ahead and bolt this onto here. And then I'm going to put the cam crank trigger in here, and I'm going to show you how it needs to be spaced in order for it to read correctly. Alright, so here's your crank sensor, your crank cam sensor. It comes with a Deutsch connector if you order it from KS-Tune, or you can order the sensor by itself and it won't come with this, and it'll just be wires out on it. I was going to do Deutsch connectors for this, and I was maybe going to make a sub harness for the coils and the injectors. I'm not sure yet, but just depends on how fancy you want the wiring to be. I want it to be as inconspicuous as possible without, you know, a bunch of leads everywhere. So I'd rather use a bunch of Deutsch connectors, take my time, make the harness look good, and make it functionable and easy to work on. But crank cam sensor, and you have a lock nut that comes with it. And what you want to do is take it comes with the lock nut already pre-installed on it. What you want to do is take the lock nut off. You want to screw the cam sensor in until you get some threads out on the other side. I'm pretty sure the lock nut's supposed to be on the outside, but when I first tried to install it, you can install it off the car. It'll be easier. That way you're not twisting these wires up, which is a terrible idea for me to do. And then you're going to put the lock nut on the back side of this. Spin it on. You can keep spinning the crank sensor in until, I don't know, maybe about midway on the air gap. Where is this thing? Maybe this. Okay, alright. So T1 recommends that you put the air gap between 35 thousandths and 60 thousandths. I kind of start big sometimes, just in case, you know, you get belt walk or anything like that, or the cam decides to move out or move in. I start big, and if I see anything that's in the tune as far as it losing cam crank signal, then I'll tighten up the air gap or something like that. But I'll start at like 50, which is like 10,000 before the maximum gap, and I'll set it there and then lock it in. And then once I get the car started, if it's losing resolution or anything like that, I'll adjust it from there. So I'm pretty much going to go ahead and slide the sensor in like that until it pretty much locks in with the feeler gauge. Like that. And don't go out here thinking you can eyeball 50 thousandths, because 9 times out of 10 you won't. And you tighten down the lock nut. You want to make sure the lock nut's secure and it doesn't back out. The sensor's not moving. And then that's pretty much how you set the air gap. So after you set the air gap, now we're going to start wiring the car. Alright, so after you get the crank trigger installed, what you want to do next is take the wire harness out of the bag, and you want to start separating wires, because they pretty much come like in a spaghetti of like a loom of spaghetti basically. And what you want to do is pretty much take the harness and just lay it out in the car. Obviously this part of the harness with the relays, the part that goes to the ECU, there is a peak and hole injector thingy that goes right here. There's a jumper for it that comes with the kit. You need to make sure that's installed if you're running high impedance injectors, aka like any ID, any pencil style injector basically. And it just clips into here like that, and you want to leave that installed. You're gonna have this thing is actually, you got to clip this together. This is like a FT550 extender, or if you're using FT550 and you want to, or if you upgrade from a 450 and you got a 550, you unclip this. The universal harness B plugs into these, but for now I think it just jumps the inputs together, because this car is going to run on basically wasted spark, which is batch fire. So 1 and 4 will fire and 2 and 4 will fire, because the ECU doesn't have the capability to control 4 injectors at one time and 4 coil packs at one time, but it still works. It's workable. So like I was saying, you want to lay the harness out. You want to get you some small zip ties or whatnot, so you can bunch the this is just temporary, by the way, so you can bunch the coil harness together and bunch the injector harness together. And also, depending on what throttle body you're using, this one also has a Mustang TPS on it, like the K-Series one I did, but his stock harness is over here and it has the plug on it, so I don't have to chop the TPS thing off of this and put it on that. I can just put it on the plug that's going to come off of his harness. And the harness only comes with OBD1 injector style clips. So what I'm going to do is, like I did in the last car, I'm going to cut these clips off. I'm going to trim the harness back, so 1 will go here, 2 will go here, 3 will go here, 4 will go there, and it'll be all it won't be all the same length, because that way you get the cleanness. And obviously I'm going to run the harness underneath that radiator hose so that it is tucked away and it's clean. Get your power ground. You want to put your power ground on the valve cover, because that's where it belongs. Alright, so with the coils, what you're going to do is, like in the K-Series video, you're going to take the red wire, the black white wire, because that's signal ground, and the gray wire, which is a signal, and you're going to obviously put power to power on these plugs, whichever signal wire it is, which the color. So damn, I gotta get some clips for this. I forgot about that. I gotta find some clips. I think I have another harness that has some clips on it, and once I get to the coils, I'll go over that, because pretty much K-Series are pretty much universal. So I'm just gonna take the 1 through 4 coils off, and the color should be the same no matter what harness you use, and it should work for you. But you know, the black white is signal ground, red is power, and the gray wire is a signal wire that the ECU tells to fire the coil. I may do something different on this car, and I may just tie the signal ground and the ground together. No, I'm just going to use the signal ground. So yeah, these ones will pretty much stay the same length. I won't cut these down, because they're just going to tuck up under here anyway. So that'll be the nice part about this. As far as the coolant temp, which is not that. Oh, the coolant temp sensor right here, what I'm going to do is take the factory plug off the factory harness, swap it out for this, shorten this harness down some so it's not 2 billion feet long. And for the intake air temp, what I'm going to do is take, I have a spare GM intake air temp sensor and I have a bung. So I'm just going to weld it into his charge pipe. And hold on, wait. Oh, never mind. He's got a plug on here. Well, one already welded in there. It's a B series, K series style one. So I'll just cut that off his harness and I'll just change the pigtail on that. So yeah, these are the two, coolant temp and intake air temp, and that would be it. As for, oh, cam crank signal. So T1 pretty much has the pin out on their website of what this is pinned out to. And as far as the harness goes right here, the only thing we're going to be using from the crank sensor side of the harness is going to be the stick red wire on the, I think it's the crank VR, yeah, on the crank VR style, because this is the RPM signal, the crank RPM signal wire. And then what we're going to do on the cam signal wire, cam side of the things is this white wire is the cam signal wire, this is ground, and this is power. And we're just basically going to use all three of these wires from here and this thick red wire from the crank VR on the cam crank trigger. So you can just, these white wires on the crank sensor side of the harness don't go to anything unless you're doing some like V8 shit, but we're not right now. So those can get eliminated. This power and this ground wire right here also can get eliminated too. So you can cut it off inside the harness and make sure it doesn't ground out on anything, and you'll be fine. I'll more than likely just be cutting it back, the harness back to here, and pretty much merging these two harnesses together so that it's a whole lot nicer and cleaner. Probably had a bunch of wires in the camera like an idiot because I wasn't paying attention. Yeah. But pretty much explains how the wiring side of that goes. This guy's battery's in the back, so more than likely I'm gonna have to extend these power and ground wires to go to the battery in the back, because you want these to be directly on the battery. You don't want to jump it off the starter. You don't want to put the ground wire on the chassis or anything, unless you're using like a pole. So basically a pole would be like an insulated terminal that's like this, and you'll have battery power coming from the battery to it, and then you put this wire here, and then, you know, it'll technically be going directly to the battery. I don't like doing it like that. I just want it to go straight to the battery without any issues. And that should pretty much explain how the wiring goes. So I'm gonna go ahead, start chopping this wire harness up, get it to where I want it to be, and then I'll check back in with you guys after I'm done. All right, guys, so I got the harness pretty much done as far as the FuelTech harness. So I got the coils modified, I've got the injectors modified, pretty much like I showed you before. And I have the coolant temp sensor pigtail done. I got the intake air temp sensor pigtail done. We're gonna put a fuel pressure gauge in here. He was using the AEM pressure sensor, and we're just going to convert that into an oil pressure sensor. And obviously the FuelTech uses its own map sensor that's built into the ECU, so we're just going to use one of these push locks here, go straight to the map sensor on that. The TPS is modified also. Like I said before, it's got a Mustang TPS on here because it does have a 90mm throttle body. And I also started running the wire. So the good thing about this harness is, let me get a flashlight. It comes with this grommet right here, like a firewall grommet, and on the EK it has a pass-through for the factory style grommet. So all I did was just bunch the grommet in there right now. I just still got to do some more massaging in there to make it fit. And then I ran it through. And I have it coming under the dash. I have the relays mounted up here. And then the wire harness is going to go through the cabin. I'm just going to secure it to the firewall some more after I get done getting the car started. I already took the stock gauge cluster out. And I have to do the switch power. I'm going to hook the two-step activation up to the e-brake. That way I know he's preloading it whenever he's on a two-step. That way, you know, he doesn't break any axles or anything like that. So that's a good security measurement, I should say. And then I just have to wire in the boost controller, the activation for the fuel pump, which it does have dual pumps in it, so it's got dual relays in the back right there. So what I'm going to do is come off of this plug that's right here, which is your input output plug. It does also has switch power, ground, and a 5-volt reference on it also. So on this plug it comes with one extra input, which you can use for whatever you want: rear vehicle speed, front vehicle speed. I'm probably going to use it for vehicle speed. And so we can do boost by gear, or I may just do boost by time on this. And then it has 4 extra outputs, and I forgot what these gray wires are. No, it's got 6 extra outputs. So we're going to be using those for like VTEC, fuel pump, and boost controller. I think that's the only thing that we need outputs for currently. I'm not using the oil pressure, VTEC oil pressure switch on that, because normally we just delete it anyway in the Honda, or disable it in the Honda. Also, when you're wiring, when you're doing VTEC, if you're keeping VTEC, this motor is equipped with VTEC. Still, it's not a lot of VTEC car like we normally do. You're gonna need a 30 to 40 amp relay for the VTEC, and you just wire it to an output, and it sends a positive signal, a 12-volt signal to the VTEC pressure switch, which is cut for some reason. So I gotta figure out how I'm gonna not make that any shorter. And that should be pretty much it. And then I just have to make a wire for the alternator to the fuse box, and we should be able to crank it up after that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all that stuff done, and then I'll check back in with you guys after I get it pretty much finished wired up. So I've been taking some time and getting this car figured out. At first, I was trying to use some settings that I thought were correct for the cam crank trigger wheel, and they were the wrong settings. So I reached out to FuelTech community, and they answered me back, and I've been able to get the cam crank settings that I need to start the car, and I've been able to get the car running. I have to work on the cold start some currently right now. The weather's been like really inconsistent, so some days it'll start right up when it's really warm outside, and then when it's really cold it'll give me a hard time to try to start. So I just have to figure out the cold start. But other than that, the car is pretty much wired. I put some new fuel pressure sensors and oil pressure sensor in here from Low Dollar Motorsports. They work flawlessly. I have to bleed the coolant system, put oil in the transmission, and I need to change the motor oil because he had some injectors that were like wonky in here before, and some of them were stuck and some of them were open, and it was really just flooding the motor with oil. I mean, not oil, with fuel. So I need to change the oil because it's kind of milky right now. And then I'll just do a little cold start video for you guys so you can see that it's. Oh, we also got a where the hell is the key at? A 3D printed cluster in here, and I already mounted that up. I just have to put the screws in it to secure it to the dash. I'm gonna do a little splash screen for him. He calls the car Iron Man, so I'll put an Iron Man logo on there Normally just wait for the O2 sensor to warm up and then I start the car, but I told y'all about the relays and stuff. It's kind of rough right now, but we got the VTech relay and the fan relays down there. I have a little power distribution thing over there also, and I just need to tuck these wires back up under the dash. The car's pretty rough, and I pretty much just figured out a lot of things that I was doing wrong, and here we go. Well, it doesn't say idling for long right now. Like I said, you gotta work on the cold start, but it does run. I'll share the settings that I have for B series and K series in the description down below, so that you guys can have those settings, because I know some people want to use the universal 4-cylinder harness, but there's not a lot of information out there, so I'm trying to do my part in the community to help out and put that information out there, so you guys don't have to ask 400 million questions on the forums and get the same, people have to keep repeating the same answers. But I'll probably do a video on this car on the dyno. I may, if the customer is cool with it, then I'll give the numbers out. If not, then you just have to guess. But as far as the car, it's pretty much complete. I just have to put the charge pipe on, like I said, put those fluids in, change the engine oil, and head to the dyno. But as always, comment, like, share, subscribe. If you guys have any questions or stuff like that, you can either ask me in the description down below, email me, or message me on Instagram or Facebook.